Yeah, that was my ear that fell off.
Sorry. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much for being here. My name is Joe Thomas. I'm a social studies teacher from Mesa, and I currently serve as president of the Arizona Education Association. And because of the work by all of you, today is a great day in Arizona. Absolutely a great day where the voters will get to decide how we will invest our dollars in this state, and it's because of you. AEA is very proud to be part of the Invest in Arizona Coalition. The coalition members behind me have worked diligently, again, over the last 90 days to do what our Constitution allows us to do, and that is refer bad policy to the voters so that they can reject it. Why are we here continually? It's because this is the space that someone has to occupy to make certain that these children have a future that is worthy of them. And this coalition and these volunteers will be in this space every single time it is necessary. The governor wants us to give up and go home. But what the governor doesn't understand about educators and parents that have been the key to this movement for over 3 years now is giving up is not in our DNA. You cannot give up on children. You cannot give up on your students. You cannot give up on your own children. When you see others neglecting them, you step forward, you step up, and you get the job done. And that's what we've done yet again today. So I want to say a very heartfelt thank you to all of you and the thousands of other AEA members, members of congregations and organizations that are part of the coalition, and just the independent people that support public schools and want a better Arizona. For all of the work that you've done, today is possible. We will always be in this space advocating for our students, and educators and parents have been the difference in this state over the last almost 4 full years. You have changed the discussion about education. You have raised the standard of which we will commit ourselves to making sure that every kid in this state, regardless of where they live, has the opportunity to attend a great public school where they have a qualified, certified teacher in the classroom and a full component of support staff and specialists to meet all the needs of the students. That's why I'm here. That's why AEA is part of this. And now you're going to hear from the other leaders of this movement, people that are out collecting and organizing and mobilizing to make today possible. And you're going to hear why they are part of this important movement as well. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Raquel Mamani. I am a mom, an active PTO member, a teacher, a public school advocate, an organizer, and a board member with Save Our Schools Arizona. I'd also like to share that I'm a proud Arizona native. What you see here today, and all the way back there in those beautiful trucks right over there, is nothing short of a miracle. Once again, they told us that we could not get it done. And yet again, we got it done. I was in the classroom all day, been out collecting signatures in the evenings and on nights and weekends, along with all of you countless volunteers. That's right. The thought that kept me going when things got tough was that our kids and our communities are worth it. And the thought of all of you volunteers who were out there fighting with me all across the state, fighting for Arizona kids to have a fully funded future. My children are here. They are 13 years old. They are 8th graders, and they have never experienced a fully funded classroom. Never. As a PTO mom, I'm constantly fundraising to fill gaps instead of collaborating on ways to lift Arizona out of its last place in education funding per pupil spot. This past year, after one of the hardest years our community has experienced, the governor and the legislature decided to undercut the will of the voters who passed Invest in Education and further rob our children by passing tax handouts for the wealthy at the expense of our kids. Now I'm going to use my teacher voice so that it can reverberate on the buildings and permeate these walls. Arizona teachers, parents, and community members are never, I'm going to repeat that, ever going to allow that to happen. That is why we collaborated and banded together and once more took to the streets all summer in blazing temperatures to keep 1 billion with a B in Arizona classrooms every single year. And guess what? We did it again. It's right here behind us. Give yourselves a hand, all of you. But I want to make sure this message is heard loud and clear, that we will continue to fight together every single year until our leaders invest in our children. Thank you so much.
My name is Kelly Fisher. I am a kindergarten teacher at Las Brisas Elementary School in the Deer Valley Unified School District. I have been teaching in public schools in Arizona for the past 23 years. I've seen many ups and downs, but through it all, I have remained a classroom teacher in hopes of making a difference in the lives of my students. Thank you. My students mean the world to me. Outside of my husband, my son, and my family, the students who come into my classroom each year are the most important people in my life. For 7 hours a day, I am their teacher, their caregiver, their boo-boo fixer, their confidant, their counselor, and most notably, a positive role model for all of them. You see, I am not only a teacher to support my students in learning what is expected in the state standards, I am a teacher to help my students learn how to be a good friend, a good citizen, and to never give up, even when things are difficult. I'd like to tell you about my classroom for a moment. In kindergarten, students learn to write. They learn to sound out words and put their ideas on paper, and this is a skill that does not come easily to 5- and 6-year-olds. There are often a lot of tears, sometimes a frustrated shout or two, and even a few papers ripped up and thrown away. But the one thing that I consistently tell them is to never give up, to keep trying, to do their best, and if they do, they will succeed. And it happens. Every year it happens. By the end of the year, they can all write, whether it's a full story or one meaningful sentence. They can all write because they didn't give up. That's why I'm here today. That's why I keep advocating for my students and every student in Arizona, because I will never give up. I will always keep trying, no matter how long it takes. As educators, we have been knocked down more than once, and I can promise you, like my students when they are writing, there have been more than a few tears shed. But I stand back up. We stand back up, and we wipe the tears away to put in the hard work that's required of us, to ensure that our students get the education and the opportunities they deserve in our public schools. I am here today because our students deserve teachers who are committed to education, who want to make a difference. Our students deserve opportunities in their schools to explore and imagine. Our students deserve all the tools they need to survive in school. Someone asked me while I was out hosting a signature gathering event how I find the time and why I keep fighting day after day, weekend after weekend, year after year. And the answer was easy. It is too important not to. There are too many possibilities out there for our students. Think of all of those possibilities. Imagine our schools with qualified educators in every classroom, committed to supporting the success of their students, opening their minds and helping them believe in their dreams. Imagine our classrooms filled with technology, books, and tools that create ideas our students haven't even dreamed of yet. Imagine schools and districts that can offer opportunities to expand student learning and success, instead of creating a list of cuts year after year. Imagine schools where teachers can dedicate themselves to classrooms and students instead of splitting their time between teaching and working extra jobs. Imagine schools where parents can be true partners in their child's learning instead of acting as the purchasing agent, supplying pencils, crayons, paper, and books. All of the possibilities. That's why I'm here today. And that is why Invest in Arizona is so important. Because it is our responsibility as educators and community members to show students that anything is possible. That even when it is hard and you get knocked down, you stand back up and you keep on going. Because when you do, your possibilities become realities. Today, we celebrate our success. Today, we start working to make these possibilities a reality for our students, our schools, and our communities. And personally, I can't wait to get started because the possibilities are waiting.
I'm Jeff Proctor Murphy. I am the lead pastor at Dayspring United Methodist Church in Tempe, and I'm also a clergy leader with the Valley Interfaith Project and the Arizona Interfaith Network. This feels like deja vu. Just last year, we were here with some 430,000 signatures to put Prop 208 on the ballot because our state legislature refused to adequately fund our schools. Members of our coalition sponsored Prop 208 because our class sizes are too big. Our textbooks are antiquated. Our buildings are crumbling. Our teachers, many of them, are leaving the profession because they can't afford it, or even leaving our state because we consistently rank 48th in per pupil funding. This has got to stop. It's utter lack of political will to invest in our future generations has to stop. For too long, we have neglected our responsibility to future generations. Last November, Arizonans passed Prop 208 to reverse 3 decades of disinvestment in our schools. It was a historic victory to provide nearly $1 billion to our schools to invest in education. Yet our governor and legislature flagrantly disregarded the will of Arizona voters. They not only passed legislation to dismantle Prop 208, they have decided to radically restructure our tax code to reward the very wealthy on the backs of everyone else. And they did so by the narrowest of margins, and they thought we wouldn't notice. This is an affront to the voters of the state. It's an insult to our teachers, and it's a direct attack on the very people that all of us, people of faith, are instructed to protect. Children, the vulnerable, those who live on the margins and who have suffered the most in this pandemic. But we see how this rush tax code will handcuff our state in coming budget cycles. And we see how it shortchanges our most vulnerable families for generations to come. We see how these expanded tax cuts will cripple our state government beyond education. Health and human services and public safety will also be impacted, affecting everyone. Most of all, we see how this blatantly disregards the will of the people. So today we are standing up for those whom our elected officials have refused to defend: the poor, the vulnerable, and our children. And we are so grateful for the Arizona citizens who gave up so much of their time these past 3 months under the sweltering Arizona sun, pounding the pavement in order to give our children a better future. We can choose a different path. We will do it together.
Good afternoon. My name is Yasmin Castro, and I'm currently a freshman at Apollo High School. I was only in 7th grade when I began to realize how much the loss of funding was affecting our schools. My 7th grade year started off normal up until my math teacher left. For almost half of the year, I was left in the dark, having to teach myself everything. Although there was always a substitute there, it was truly never the same as having a teacher dedicated to that subject. Going so long with no one there to help us, it made me wonder, why aren't they doing anything to find a replacement? It made us feel like no one was looking out for us. Up until this point, I had grown accustomed to learning at a fast pace and always being ahead. Slowing down made me feel like I was throwing away all that hard work, and it was incredibly discouraging. To this day, I'm still affected by the repercussions from that situation. My 8th grade teacher had to backtrack a lot due to how heavily affected we were by the previous year. I, along with my peers, should have entered high school a lot more ahead than we did. At the beginning of this school year, one of my electives was journalism. When my teacher was introducing us to the class and going over the rules on how to handle our cameras, she mentioned that the reason we had to be extremely careful was because those cameras came out of our own money. Journalism had once fallen under the CTE program, therefore meaning it was funded by the school. Now that it had been cut, the program had to host its own fundraisers if it ever wanted to do something that required funding. If budget cuts continue and we don't redirect the necessary funding back to our schools, more and more programs are going to be cut just like journalism. Most electives that fall under this program are outlets for students who are set on what they want to do. Cutting these programs will take opportunities away from students who could be able to come out of high school ahead in their career paths. Most of the time, being able to take courses like these encourages students to work hard in school. One of the most unfair effects of budget cuts I've seen is who pays for the school supplies teachers provide. Teachers constantly tell us to please respect their supplies because they pay for them. The most basic necessities such as glue sticks, pencils, erasers, etc. are being paid for by the backbones of the education system. Something schools should be able to provide funding for is coming straight out of the pockets of teachers. The people who make the whole world run the way it does are having to spend their hard-earned money on these necessities. Teachers are already underpaid for what they do. They should not be the ones having to provide us with these things. Growing up, we're always told to invest in our education. We constantly hear that we fully need to dedicate ourselves to our studies because it's our future. If my education is my future, why isn't anyone investing in it? Constantly hearing stories like mine discourages me and my peers. It makes us feel like no one truly cares about our education and would rather dedicate the needed funds elsewhere. Elsewhere seems to be the pockets of the governor's friends. I'm grateful to the volunteers who truly care about my education and worked all summer to make sure funding stays in the classroom.
Your name, age, and grade. I didn't get that at the beginning.
My name is Yasmin Castro, and I'm currently a freshman at Apollo High School, and I'm 14 years old.
Tough act follow. Thanks, Yasmin. My name is Beth Lewis. I'm a mom, a teacher, and co-founder of Save Our Schools Arizona. I'm so happy to be here today to celebrate the work of our incredible volunteers. But I need to make one thing perfectly clear. Parents, teachers, and citizens should not have to pound the pavement year after year to collect signatures on petitions to fund our schools. Our Arizona Constitution actually requires that our legislature and our governor do just that, fund our schools. And yet they've abdicated their duties year after year. So here we are. This summer, our volunteers talked to hundreds of thousands of voters. These conversations made one thing abundantly clear. Arizona voters want more resources for our classrooms and teachers, and they want their votes to be respected and upheld. When voters heard about Governor Ducey's billion-dollar handout for the rich at the expense of our students and the attacks on voter-approved Prop 208, they were furious, and they were eager to sign these petitions. As a teacher, I can tell you, we cannot afford to lose $1, much less $1 billion. Teachers are already being asked to do so much more with so much less every single year. That's why today is only the beginning of our campaign. In 2022, the governor's extreme handouts for the rich will be on the ballot. And once again, Arizona voters will overwhelmingly elect to fund our public schools by voting no on these bills that slash $1 billion in education funding every single year. And mark my words, our volunteers will work tirelessly to get this done, and they're going to work for 13 months to finally elect a governor and a legislature that will support and fund Arizona's public schools. So, thank you. Thank you to the incredible volunteers all across Arizona for this momentous victory. You are the true heroes of our state. I'm eternally grateful for your sacrifice and your hard work, and I'm honored to fight by your side for Arizona's public schools.
I'm the last one, I promise. Good afternoon. I am Rebecca Gallo, Executive Director at Stand for Children Arizona. After 1.7 million voters passed Prop 208, the Invest in Education Act, powerful interests started working to undermine the new law. Their efforts threaten the economic future of our state. Their efforts to roll back state revenue and education funding personally benefit Governor Ducey and his wealthy political donors while harming Arizona's children and economy. We are so grateful for the thousands of volunteers who gave up their summer to gather almost 500,000 signatures to support Arizona schools again. Today we're delivering over 600 boxes of signatures to the Secretary of State's office. That's a lot. That's a whole lot. The next step, though, more legal battles. Opponents who want to protect the wealthy at the expense of students have already filed legal challenges to the signatures we submitted today. They don't want you to be able to vote on this issue. They think it belongs in the hands of 48 people at the Capitol, and the legal fees continue to add up. So we have a simple ask. Please chip in to help invest in Arizona. It's easy. Just go to the website, INVESTinAZNow.com, and click the donate button. You can also sign up to volunteer and help us get the job done. We need to win these battles and ensure these bad bills show up on the November 2022 ballot for us to decide, not 48 people at the Capitol. So please, join us in this fight. It is far from over. Thank you.